Hello there everybody, welcome back to my little podcast series. Now in the last episode I talked about my actual thoughts about the game Sonic Mania. Unfortunately there have been extra additions that came with the PC version of Sonic Mania that you may or may not be aware of. The short version is when it was released, it was very quickly discovered that you couldn't play the game offline. Your Steam account, or wherever on earth you bought the thing from, demanded that you have to access the internet in order to play the game. This raised some eyebrows for people who looked into it further and found that Sonic Mania is in fact running Denuvo, or Denuvo, or however the fuck you pronounce it. Either way, this program is a DRM program, which is Digital Rights Management. Basically means that you're not allowed to really touch or change the files. It's designed to stop piracy by making all the files and folders and everything about the game completely untouchable and demanding an internet connection, so it has to connect to a central server and all these other little tricks it does. Its aim is to stop piracy with middling success. People who support DRM programs like this claim that, oh, it takes people months for them to crack through our Denuvo system. Well, sometimes it takes months. In some cases, it takes days, even hours, for people to crack through a DRM system. It varies from game to game. How long it'll take them to get through Sonic Mania, I don't know. I'm not interested in hacking my way into Sonic Mania in order to play it illegally. I own a legitimate copy. But it raises a few issues. As I already mentioned, you need to be connected to the internet in order to play Sonic Mania with Denuvo. Now, for me that's not a problem. I've got a fairly reliable internet connection. I'm lucky. Not everyone is that lucky. Some people have timed internet connections, where they can only use it for X amount of hours during the day. Some people have, like pay-as-you-go type internet connections, where every time, for every second they're online sending information, it's costing them money. And some people just live in an area with really bad internet. So this sort of thing in this day and age, where you assume that everyone has access to everything, is a very, very bad method of thinking. Because for people who don't have proper internet, it means you can't play the game. Now, Sega have actually come out and said that the always online thing was apparently an oversight. Not the fact that Denuvo exists on Sonic Mania at all, but just the fact you have to be online in order to play it was a mistake that they're apparently working on rectifying. So whether you see that as a temporary problem or simply, oh, it doesn't really matter, I'll play it eventually, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. Like I said, I've got good internet. It might be better for you, it might not. Okay, jumping in with a quick edit here. Between the time I first recorded this audio and now when I just sat down to start editing it, it seems that a patch dropped into Sonic Mania that removes the need to always have the game online, thus fixing the problems I was talking about previously. However, it has not removed Denuvo completely. It's just removed the need for it to be constantly online. So my following point still stands. But here's the issue that I really take with Denuvo. As I previously mentioned, it means you cannot edit any of the files. Now, that might seem harmless enough. Oh, why would you want to edit the files unless you were trying to hack in the game to play it without paying for it? Well, yeah. But there's one other reason you might want to hack into the files that is completely innocent. Modding. See, here's a little history for you. When Sonic 06, as it's now called, came out, most people, both fans and reviewers, said it was the death knell for the Sonic series. People thought he's not going to survive this. You know, he had a few half-decent games with the likes of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and Sonic Heroes. And now it just seemed like, nope, Sonic is over now. But here we are, more than 10 years later, he's still here. Why? Simple. Modders. Whilst Sega were completely failing to make a good Sonic game, the modding scene was only getting bigger and stronger, more so seeing as Sega couldn't produce a good game. In fact, Sonic Mania exists because of modders. You see, a couple of modders, I forget their names off the top of my head, made a game called Sonic Retro. They created their own engine from scratch in order to make this Sonic fan hack. And eventually, he pitched his work to Sega, and they hired him. He said, yeah, this is amazing. You've made a really good Sonic game. Yes, come aboard. They then set him about creating the ISO versions of Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic CD. What happened to the engine that made Sonic Retro? Oh, that's the engine that's running Sonic Mania. So here we have a game, Sonic Mania, that exists purely because of the modding community. The modding community kept Sonic alive long enough for this game to come out, and the modding community itself created the base for the engine that Sonic Mania runs on, and Sonic Mania was designed by one of the modders. And yet what Sega have said by putting Denuvo onto Sonic Mania is, nope, you're not going to mod it. Sorry, you're not touching this game, it's ours. Which seems really, really stupid. It's baffling. I can't understand why Sega would do something like this. My only guess is that this was some executive order handed down from on high. Said, no, you're going to put in DRM. But we don't want it. No, you are going to put in DRM. That's my only thought about why this insane decision would be taken. I mean, I understand Sega want to protect their property, and they want to make sure that the game sells well. Fine. But if history has taught us anything, it's that by putting this kind of DRM into a video game, it actually hurts sales. Here's the thing. The Steam page, the Steam store page for Sonic Mania is currently being flooded with negative reviews because of Denuvo. In exactly the same way that GTA 5 had its Steam page completely bombarded with negative reviews after the changes they made a few months back. It turned GTA 5's mostly positive or overwhelmingly positive or whatever it was into an overwhelmingly negative reaction. And this stuff is noticed because the creators of GTA 5, they suddenly realized people didn't like their game. People do look at Steam reviews before they purchase games. I look at Steam reviews before I purchase games. Most people do. I mean, whether you listen to them or not is your choice, but people still look at them because they're there. They're on the page where you're going to pay your money. If they're all saying, don't buy this game, it's got really annoying DRM, people are going to not buy the game. It's going to hurt sales. It's going to push towards people trying to pirate the game just to get away from the DRM. I mean, this is an argument that people have been saying for years since DRM became a really heavy-handed thing. So I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before. But the fact that Sega have done this deliberately, and I want to point out, the game was delayed for 2 weeks on PC, which is why this episode is coming out now. Those 2 weeks seem to have existed just so they could put Denuvo onto the program. I genuinely can't think of any other reasons. They claimed it was for bugs and errors, but honestly, I just think it was for Denuvo. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That is just, you know, it's a guess. I don't know for a fact if that is the case. But it certainly feels like it is. And as I said, modders are the reason this game exists, and Sega have gone and kicked them in the teeth with this piece of DRM. And it's a baffling decision that I can only assume came down from on high by someone who simply didn't realize the decision that they were making. So, whether or not Denuvo will ultimately be removed from Sonic Mania, allowing for mods, or whether Denuvo will stay on there forever and they'll simply just remove the need to play online, I don't know. We'll simply have to see what the future holds for that. I may do a follow-up episode if something changes or if they release like a modding section to the game, but as it stands, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we've got is what we're going to have to live with, and I think that is such a shame. Sega have been doing very well lately. The fans are happy with both Sonic Mania coming out and Sonic Forces coming out later on this year or early next year, whenever that's coming out. So it's a decision that, as I said, it's baffling to me why they have done this. Why they would kick the people that kept their franchise alive in the teeth like this. So that is why people should be really upset about Denuvo. Whether you believe in DRM or not, whether you think Denuvo helps or hurts, to me that is nothing compared to the fact that the modders who created this game have now been denied access to mod the game they created. To me, that's the worst part of this whole thing. So the future holds whatever it holds, and we'll have to see what happens. So thank you for listening, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.